It's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, where every week we review a selected ale and engage in some light-hearted, beer-related banter. My name is Mark, and joining me in a room quite literally filled with fish tanks and children's drawings, aka I've run out of ideas, is my beer mentor, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Your room is full of children's drawings and a fish tank, from what I can see in the camera.
It is. I didn't realise you could see the fish tank, but hey. Yes, this is my children's playroom that it doubles up as Beer O'Clock Show recording studio on a Monday night.
Yeah, Beer O'Clock East studio.
Yes. I like to refer to it as the field office.
Yeah, the field office.
Your
really
place
good.
is HQ.
My place is HQ.
Yeah, and this. Yeah, this is the field office.
Very good. So how you been doing?
I'm good, thanks. I think I might have got to a point in the last week where I've just quite literally consumed so much beer that my body's started saying no more because
I do think you have drunk all the beer.
I think well, considering this time last week we was talking about my 500th check-in on Untapped.
Yeah.
I now talk to you tonight sitting on 527.
Oh!
So when we were joking last week about doing 25 beers a week, I don't know whether I took that as some sort of subconscious challenge.
Oh my goodness, you can't do that every week, mate. You'll be dead before Christmas.
Mate, honestly, this weekend, Sunday morning, I felt like absolute shite. I felt like, honestly, I'd been run over by a beer tanker. And it deposited its load on me, and I just couldn't get up. I just felt horrific.
Oh, you poor little tacker.
Oh,
poor little
me.
man.
Yeah.
But well, you're back in the saddle now. It's Beer O'Clock.
Yes, let's get on it.
We're back on the booze. Let's talk about some little items we've got coming up, as well as some little bits and pieces of news. Do you have any news to talk about before we get into your list of things?
Just one thing. Is that today, although it'll be a few days ago when people listen to this, I'll get used to that soon. Nicholson's have launched their Autumn Beer Festival today. That runs for a few weeks into the middle of November, and obviously it overlaps with Wetherspoon's one, which I think, obviously they're competing brands, but I don't see that the consumer wins in this battle, because why have two beer festivals overlapping one another? Why not, when one finishes, let the other one run and let us, the Great British Beer drinkers, benefit from a longer beer festival?
Yeah,
it's just
I agree.
Strange, in my opinion.
Yeah, top and tail them.
Yeah, absolutely. Not run them over the top of each other.
No. Are they doing the same beers? Do you know?
No, they're doing a completely different range of beers, which is, I suppose, the one good thing. Plus, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, Truman's are quite involved in what Nicholson's are doing as well. So it's good for them as far as their relaunch is concerned. But I just still question the wisdom of running one festival over the top of another.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's get into this little list of your epic list of things to talk about. We've spoken about this in the last few weeks, which is the Back in Black event, which is coming up next Friday.
Yeah, getting close now.
A week from now, as you're listening to this newly released episode, because I know everyone just waits for that 6 p.m. on a Friday for when the episode
Hell, they do,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, man. It's Back in Black. It is a Twitter event with Cam RGB. It's not camera.
Camera GB.
Camera GB. There you go. It's the event where you go on Twitter, you drink black beers, whether it's porters or stouts or black IPAs or whatever, and you tweet them with the hashtag Back in Black. You can @Beer O'Clock Show as well, so that we can see it. But otherwise, get pissed on a Friday night and tweet about it. Why not?
Absolutely.
So Steve's been revealing each beer that the beers that he's tasting, one per week leading up to the event, and we've got number 4 tonight. So why don't you tell us what beers you've had previously, in case people haven't been listening, and then lead up to the big announcement.
Okay, up until this point then, I'm starting my evening with a beer called Black by Crouch Vale. Comes in at 6%. It's not sure whether it's a stout or a porter or just a black beer. Crouch Vale are being very jaded as to what the actual style of beer is, but I've had it before and it's lovely. So that's an easy start to the evening for me. I'm then moving on to Fade to Black by Weird Beard at 6.3%. That's a black IPA. My next one after that is going to be the Camden versus Odell series Baltic Porter at 7%. And then once those three have gone, I'm then wading in, bringing out the big guns, and bringing out at 10% the Brewdog Cocoa Psycho, which is an Imperial Russian Stout with chocolate and coffee.
And I bet you don't taste the chocolate.
By that point, I reckon I'll taste pretty much fuck all. Although I did get some great advice from our now resident random bloke off Twitter this past weekend, who said a good way of cleansing the palate between beers is either to drink water or to eat a dry cracker. So I might give that a try in the future,
right.
so that I can actually taste things and I don't accuse
possibly
things.
Mixing in some water in between your beers might do you a world of good anyway.
It may do, yes, especially seeing as I'm planning on finishing with a 10% beer. So that's my planned lineup. Should I get through all of those, and should I still be standing, I've got a couple in reserve that I might bring out. Contemplating maybe hitting one of the Harvestoon Ola Doos, if I feel as though that's a wise move at the end of the evening. But for now, it will just be those four.
Very good, very good. I have no new black beers to announce that I know of. But I'm going to Whole Foods tomorrow night.
Oh, right, cool.
Picking up the Halloween pumpkins, because they do nice big pumpkins there. And we're very posh, you understand. Only the finest pumpkins in our Halloween party.
And you do love Halloween as well, don't you?
We do love Halloween.
Your is a Halloween freak.
Ooh, she's a proper nerd when it comes to Halloween.
Yeah.
Proper nerd.
This is like her Christmas, isn't it?
It is. It's only going to be us in the flat, but we're doing it up. We're decorating it.
And why not?
Then we'll be watching scary movies with me hiding behind one of the cushions, because I don't like scary movies. So I'll see what beers they've got there. I might see if they've got another black beer. Who knows? It was suggested today. I had a bit of an email exchange with the guys from Dominion. You might remember last week I commented that the oak barrel stout tasted like black water. Right.
Apparently they weren't too impressed with that comment. But also quite a few of other people on Twitter have said maybe you shouldn't have done it after the Brewdog beer, because that probably destroyed your palate. And I think there was maybe a suggestion you should do your bottle of the black of the oak barrel stout from Dominion. However, obviously I've still got that here and I need to get that to you. I don't think that's going to happen before the 1st.
No. I will be picking that up from you during the month of November, and I shall do it especially for the fine folks at Dominion.
Yes, and maybe give them a more balanced view than it tastes like black water.
Mine will be, it tastes like beer.
Yeah,
but
that's got to be a step up from black water, surely.
Indeed. You mentioned Brewdog there. You went on a wee trip. You went up to Nottingham.
Yes.
For a work do, or for work. And you ended up wandering the back alleys of Nottingham on your lonesome and finding a Brewdog pub.
I did, and I've got to say I had a fantastic night in Brewdog. Particularly, I'm going to give a shout out to the servers, who were Leanne and Dan on that night, and Dan, who actually took some time to come over and sit and chat with me about some of the beers that I was trying as well, which was quite nice. And I've got to say that I found the Brewdog bar in Nottingham far less pretentious and up its own backside than the one in Camden. Had a much more laid back feel. Sorry, mate.
It wouldn't be difficult.
No, but it was much more laid back. I think the fact that it was a Wednesday night and no, it wasn't. It was Tuesday night, and there was football on, and there's obviously no TVs in Brewdog, so there was only half a dozen people in there. But it was just a nice, easy feel. Just a couple of mentions on a couple of the beers that I did while I was in there. I did a new release of this. It's called How to Disappear Completely. which is a 2.8% mild English ale. Absolutely stunning. Had the hop characteristics of a much stronger ABV beer, and it was so easy and so refreshing to drink that I kind of did one in there, and then I might have had a couple of takeaways that I took back to my hotel with me as well, because that was a pretty decent beer. Tried quite a few of their beers while I was in there. If you want to see them all, have a look at my Untapped profile there. I checked them all in on there. But the one that I did want to mention was I tried the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, which is a 32% beer. Now, in the bottle, this beer costs about 30 or 40 quid. But you could get it in 25ml shots for a fiver over the bar, and I was like, well, to be honest with you, I'd rather throw a fiver at it than buy a bottle of it. So I got myself a shot of Tactical Nuclear Penguin after putting it to Twitter, actually, as to whether I should do it or not.
Right.
And Twitter came out in favour. I think it was about 7 against 2 in favour of doing it. All I've got to say was it was a real thick liquid. Now it is actually classed as a beer, but I don't see how it is classed as a beer. It was really thick and almost syrup-like. It had a really vinegary nose on it, so it smelled like bad wine. But the taste of it was like really, really sweet liqueur. Mm-hmm. Now, upon digging into it further, by all accounts, what it was, it's an imperial stout that has been frozen and defrosted and frozen and defrosted, and going through that process, it basically gets it down to its purest form of essence. It was all right for 25 mils, for a fiver for 25 mils. I'd say I'm quite happy to tick the box to say that I've done it. Whether I ever do it again is another thing. Wasn't fantastic. Wasn't anything really to write home about.
Right.
But at least I've done it now. The next one to try now is the next one up from there, which is called Sink the Bismarck, which I think is 40%, and that's a double IPA that has gone through the same process of being frozen and defrosted and all the rest of it.
That's just getting stupid.
Yeah, I know. But hey, I think the alcohol's eating away at my brain cells.
Talking about alcohol eating away at brain cells, Wetherspoons.
Yes.
There's their beer fest on at the moment. Now, I was actually in a Wetherspoons on the weekend.
Stop the press. Mark was in a pub.
I know, it's amazing. I'll mention 2 beers I had. One was actually at the Wetherspoons, which was a Beer Gold by Woodford Ale, which was quite nice. And I had another beer which wasn't actually at the Wetherspoons, but it was at the Craft Beer Company that's just opened up in Brixton.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that was, you've probably had it before, an American Pale Ale by Darkstar.
Yes, I've had the Darkstar IPA.
Very pleasant.
It's a nice, easy beer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an easy drinker.
Mm-hmm. Because our mate Andy was there as well, and I think he had it before me, but he wasn't sure on it. So whether he had a bad pour. I tell you what, I was watching some of the guys pouring beers in that craft beer, and they're just pouring it flat into the glass.
Really?
They weren't tipping the glass or anything. It's like, come on, guys, at least try.
Yeah.
I know they're only, they're probably new. They're probably used to working in Wetherspoons or something like that. I don't know.
But that's surprising for the craft beer company. They normally, there's a bit more. You expect a bit more expertise behind their bars.
Yeah, it could be that they weren't thinking because it was rammed and it was constantly rammed the entire time with it. And we came back 3 hours later at like midnight and was rammed again.
Oh, really?
It's open till 1 o'clock or something on gig nights, which is quite cool. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about Wetherspoons Beer Festival. I didn't try any other beers there. Tell me, have you had any yet, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, because it launched last week, and in the first couple of days there was quite a lot of tweets that were suggesting lots of disappointment in the beers that were actually available across the Wetherspoons and in the beers themselves. Now, I had high hopes for this festival because I had a look at the beers that were going to be available beforehand, and I got very excited about the fact that the Stone Brewing Company from America had sent one of their brewers over to brew with Adnams, and that they were brewing a black beer as a collaboration specifically for this festival. So I could barely contain my excitement upon walking in a Wetherspoon on Saturday night to find the Stone and Adnams collaboration actually on, to the point where I felt compelled to record this little live review of the Stone and Adnams collaboration.
It's beer o'clock here at Wetherspoons, where I felt compelled to do this exclusive live recording because I'm thrilled, I'm ecstatic, I'm over the fucking moon right now because I found the one beer that I wanted to try as part of this year's festival that Wetherspoons are running, and that is the Stone and Adnams collaboration, the Supremely Self-Conscious Black Owl. And I'm sat here with a pint of it in front of me, and I just wanted to share what I'm drinking. So first of all, the aroma. Oh, it's lovely. It's like walking through a pine forest. First thing in the morning, it's nice and fresh. It's got that lovely piney, hoppy aroma that you'd expect from a Stone beer. And it just makes me want to get in. So I'm going to get into this beer. I'm going to give it a taste, and I'm going to let you know what I think. Oh, that's stunning. That is one out of the top drawer. It's got that dry hoppiness that you'd expect from a Stone beer. Lingers around in the mouth for a little bit and then eases off. It's got the lovely roasted malts coming through from the Black Owl, but then it's got that undercurrent of a typical traditional English Adnams brewed beer. This is an absolute stunner. This is well worth searching out before the festival ends on the 31st of October. It's supremely self-conscious. It's sublime. It's super. It's all the other words that I can imagine beginning with an S. This is a great beer. Get yourself down to Wetherspoon and get a pint of this. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, well that's really interesting, mate.
It was honestly, mate, quite literally one of the greatest beers I've ever tasted, to the point where I may have accidentally taken the pump clip as well as a bit of a souvenir. May have done that. There's no admission in there at all, but there might be one upstairs. But so that was probably my highlight from the festival. I tried a few other beers while I was in there, and I wasn't impressed with anything else I'd tried. I was disappointed that it seemed as though I had actually got. I managed to get myself 2 pints of the Stone, and the second pint it was then off after that. So I had the last pint in the pub, which I was absolutely devastated about because I was planning on just having a session on that.
But you can literally say that you drank a pub dry.
I drank a pub dry of what I now consider to be newly inserted in my top 5 beers of all time, one of the greatest beers I've ever drunk.
Wow.
And that kind of links nicely to this week's interview that we've got coming up at the end of the show, because I went off to interview Fergus Fitzgerald this week, Adnams head brewer, where I asked him some questions about the Stone collaboration, and make sure you stay tuned in at the end of the show to listen to that interview.
Yeah, wait for the little tinkly end music, and then Steve and Fergus will be chatting away afterwards. More excitement coming, Steve. More excitement coming.
Yeah.
You have a road trip. With
I do have a road trip.
Number 1 fan, may I say, Michael Doody, not his real name. Doody! Were you going off and... I imagine, I don't know if it's a Thelma and Louise type road trip, or if it's a Jim Carrey and the other bloke from that movie where they're idiots.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber type road trip.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit
wanted
of that.
me to say that. You didn't want to say that, did you? You wanted
I couldn't remember the name of it.
I'm not sure. I'm kind of hoping more along the lines of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah, Doody and I are going off. As you listen to this show, Doody and I would have spent the day at Buxton Brewery. We've had a brew day with them, and then we're planning on heading to the Buxton Tap House to drink all the Buxton Ale that is available, to give all that a good sampling. And then on Saturday we're heading over to Magic Rock to have a look and to see where the magic happens. So there will be some little clips of our excellent adventure. But that won't be for a couple of weeks, because we've got a big show coming next week, and we want to save the stuff from our road trip to give it the airing that it deserves.
Yeah, there's going to be a very special episode around that road trip. I promise Stephen this. It's going to be amazing. Providing you actually remember to record anything, mate.
Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? I'll probably start off with all the best intentions. It'll get to about 8 o'clock and I'll be like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing anymore.
And you mentioned next week's episode. We normally have a pre-cap of the next week's episode at the end of the thing. But let's talk about it now, because it is a really special one that we've got coming out Friday week, the 1st of December.
Yep. 1st of December.
1st of November.
Lost a month. Oh, no. Yeah, I think it's going to be our biggest show ever. We've got more guests than ever before. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Mark and I, and then there's going to be 5 homebrewers on with us.
5? 1?
Well,
2.
yeah, you count Kremer as there's 2 of them, but that's 1.
Doody.
The
other one.
Andy Parker and Andrew Drinkswater.
Oh, is he coming as well?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
I've got one of his beers. Whether he comes on or not is another thing. Maybe he'll listen to this and remember. So anyway, we've got homebrewers coming on. We are going to be chatting to them about their homebrewing, and we're also going to be sampling 3 beers next week.
I'm sampling 3. Because
yes.
You don't have one of the bottles for me, which is perfectly fine, because I wouldn't be able to taste it at the end of 3.
Yeah.
And you have 4.
Yes, so, but we might, dependent on whether Andrew comes on or not, we might not do his beer.
Yeah.
So the beers we're definitely going to do, we'll give you a little preview now. We're going to be doing the Monarch Saison by Doody. We are going to be doing the Red Snow Rye by Kremer. And we are going to be doing a double IPA by Andy Parker. Those are the 3 beers we're definitely doing. If the other guy comes on, we'll also be doing, or I'll be doing, and Doody and Andy and Kremer will also be doing the black IPA as well. And Mark will probably just be sat giggling at the other end of the recording. So it's going to be a huge show. Running alongside that, we've also got a few additional homebrewers that have wanted to get involved, and we're going to be putting out a collaboration blog about these other homebrewers and what they do and why they do it. So we're going to be all over the social media space with our homebrew stuff in the next week. But it's pretty much the biggest thing we've planned to date, and hopefully it'll come off, and hopefully you guys will be in for a real treat next Friday.
Yeah, and you can listen to me personally get completely rat-arsed in the space of about 25 minutes, which is nothing new, on a school night. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be epic.
Right, enough waffle. Let's get on to this week's featured beer, which is one of the American beers that we have on our Season 3 beer list on the website at beeroclockshow.co.uk. This is it's a bastardized Scottish-style red ale from a brewer called Bear Republic, who are in Cloverdale, California, which is in the heart of the wine district, apparently. Wine region. The beer is called Red Rocket Ale, and the label says Red Rocket Ale is a bastardized Scottish-style red ale packed with distinctive flavours and an aggressive hop character rivaled by none. This unfiltered, bottle-conditioned, amber-coloured ale breaks all style moulds. Right. Sonoma County Ales. So that's where they are, Sonoma County. Oh, you can get a cash refund on the bottle if we ever go to California, mate.
Brilliant.
Let's-
We should have been keeping all these American bottles because I think
know.
you can with all of them.
Yeah, so remember, it's bottle conditioned, so don't pour the entire thing out.
No, nice easy pour tonight.
Not easy, nice easy pour. So what do you know about Bear Republic, mate?
Very little.
Toffee.
To be honest with you, I was toffee.
Isn't that what you said before? No? Okay. I'm sure
Toffee?
I've asked you, what do you know about this, and you said toffee. Maybe it was something else.
No.
I'm going to cut this bit out. Continue on.
Okay. All right. No, I don't really know a lot about them. Again, it was one of those that I was attracted more by the label.
Mm-hmm.
They're again another craft brewery that's grown out of home brewing. Not reading this off their website at all. Family owned, heart of Sonoma County, California. Why did they decide to do it among the grapevines of the world famous wine country? Simple. That's where they're from.
Well,
okay, so
why not?
this was their first beer was Ricardo's Red Rocket Ale. So I think quite possibly by mistake I've actually picked up what was their first ever brew. So good on me.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
lad. Right.
I've had their they do one called Racer 5, which is an IPA, which was absolutely stunning. Now I might have mentioned that might have been it. I'm sure a couple of weeks ago when I reviewed that, I said that tasted like toffee. That's where maybe where your memory went.
No, I'm thinking something else.
No? Okay. All right.
Shall we crack on and get this open and get tasting?
Yes, let's get into this.
Right.
I've done so much talking. I'm thirsty.
Whoa, it's got a
Ooh,
nice smell of it.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's really sweet coming out of that bottle.
Wow, it's very dark.
Oh, it's like a hit of strawberries.
Very dark. Is yours really cloudy?
Yes, that's because it's unfiltered.
Oh, I see. Leave a little bit in the bottom.
That looks like a
Oof.
lovely pour.
Very dark amber.
Whoa. Oh yeah. Piney hops.
Very piney hops.
Fruit in the background. Maybe some sort of berry in there. Dark berries. Piney hops. Smells absolutely gorgeous.
Does smell very nice.
That smells lovely.
So let's see if it actually tastes like it smells.
Yeah.
It is
Cheers.
very, very thick looking beer. Cheers, mate.
Let's get into this one. Oh wow.
Wow. Very red tasting. I know that's a very weird thing to say, but that's the first thing in my mind.
Well, no. Let's just think back to my comment about how a beer tasted like black water.
Yeah.
So if you want to say it tastes like red, that's fine. let's start just doing that with beers. Oh, it tastes yellow. This one does.
I'm sure
No, I know
people-
what you mean though. It's got a lovely creamy taste to it. The aroma and the flavour just marry perfectly. I think there's a slight burnt flavour
Mhm.
going on in the background, but it's just really it's like creamy toffee at the moment. It's like a creamy toffee cheesecake that's maybe been topped with a strawberry coulis or something. That's got to be the ponciest statement I think I've ever come out with.
To me, it tastes like spicy wood.
Okay.
Spicy wet wood.
Oh, there's nothing offensive about that though, is there?
It's a bit heavier than I'd prefer. But like we all know, I prefer the lighter beers.
Yeah.
That hoppiness really sticks around though, doesn't it?
It does, but it's very well balanced. I think. I don't think it's certainly not overpowering like the one, like last week's one. The snake dog that we did last week was quite overpowering on the hops.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting actually. Just mentioning that we got quite a lot of feedback last week that a lot of people seem to suggest that we actually did the wrong Flying Dog beer, and that there's one called Raging Bitch that we should have done,
Okay.
which is apparently a much better beer than the Flying Dog.
Well, it's too late now, people.
But thank you for getting involved.
Yeah, thanks very much for your feedback. We appreciate all kinds of input from our audience. Oh, cheeky fucker.
I like that. I really, really like that. That's just perfectly balanced.
Yep, very smooth. All the flavours are kind of equalised. Yeah, there's like a really boozy woodiness to it. With kind of like a...
Yeah.
The spiciness is kind of filtered through all the flavours and comes out on top. Like the top of your palate. And all the other flavours kind of mix in on the lower layers, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. You get that, what I thought we were going to get, off the initial aroma from the bottle and then the first sip, I was thinking, oh, we're going to get something here that's along the lines of something that's been aged in a whiskey barrel cask or something like that, because it had some of those boozy notes to it. Yep. But actually that just doesn't come through. What you get is you get a really, really well-balanced dark ale that's been... It has been, as I think they say, what is it, aggressively hopped. You can taste it's been aggressively hopped because you do get that spiciness from the hops, but it's just so well balanced by the soft malty creamy flavors that are going on in there. This is a real winner for me. I was a little bit worried about doing this.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor there. It's 6.8% ABV, so that would suggest why it tastes so strong to me. But
yeah,
it's not one of these beers where the booziness overtakes all the other flavours. There's a nice woody maltiness in the background. I'm getting the pine scents, slight pine taste on I was going to say the backdraft on on the breath after. It's funny, you know how we had that trick where you swallow and then you breathe out to get like the follow up scents and tastes. Yeah, and I want to say it's a top of the mouth hoppiness. You don't have the hoppiness that's taking over your entire mouth. This, for me, it's at the top of my mouth, where the tongue gets to enjoy the residual maltiness and the redness. I'm going to keep going with the redness.
I love it. Keep going with it. Yeah.
Someone will understand what I mean. So it's a very nice beer. It's quite strong. It's stronger than I would not drink this all night. I'd have one, enjoy it for what it is, and move on to something lighter. But
so see, whereas I'd have one and probably decide that now was a good time to do a 32% beer. It would seem these days. No, I think it's really good actually. I mean, we spoke last week about beginning to rank the US beers.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me personally, this is probably now sitting at number 2 behind the Odell 5-barrel pale ale. For me, that's still way out in front in terms of these American beers we've done so far this season.
Okay, I don't know where I would place this. It is a very nice beer though.
Yeah, I'd recommend this one. I would, if I saw this again, I'd buy this and I'd enjoy this again.
Yeah. But again, a bit too strong for me. But the flavors are all well balanced. The hoppiness isn't overpowering, and yeah, a nice, quite pleasant redness to it.
You were determined to get that in again, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
That was very enjoyable. It's got a little bit slightly more bitter towards the end, slightly more of a bitter aftertaste that's lingering around. But like you say, it's got a linger. It's got a slight spiciness to it, but it's not offensive. It's a welcoming taste and feel in my mouth.
We don't like unpleasant things in our mouth. If only Staff was here, he'd appreciate me.
Yeah, he'd be chuckling all over that, wouldn't he? He'll be back in a few weeks. We've got him lined up again for a few weeks' time.
Very good. I miss Staff when he's not here. He laughs at my jokes.
I try to.
But you do
It's like
have...
working with two children when you're both on.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. um, right, as we head towards the wrap up, we have a little announcement to make about an event coming up in December.
Yes, we do. I'd forgotten
forgot.
where you were going there for a second. Saturday the 14th of September, Beer O'Clock Show are going live
December,
again.
perhaps?
December?
Yeah.
Did I say September or
You
something?
did.
Oh, okay. Saturday the 14th of December.
Mm-hmm.
Beer O'Clock Show are going live again. We are doing the Crimbo Crawl. Where we're going out and we're going around 6 different watering houses in the north and east parts of London, being hosted, compared for us by our resident random bloke off Twitter, Justin Mason, at 1970s Boy. For full details, have a look on the website and have a look at the tab at the top that says Crimbo Crawl. You can see the places where we're going to, start time, and some advice about what we're doing. In a few weeks' time, there will be a live booking link where you can just reserve your space. There's no cost to this event. We just need to get an idea of how many people are coming along, so that we can try and work that out in terms of, can we get everybody from pub to pub to pub. Yeah. So look out for that. Have a look on the website and let us know if you're going to be coming along and joining us for a Christmas beer or two.
Yeah, we had a good turnout at the last live event, so we're hoping to see even more people this time. And
yeah, it's a slightly different feel, this one.
Yeah, and it'll be cold. We'll be doing lots of walking, and we'll need lots of winter warmers. So hopefully the pubs have their nice fruity beers out.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so have a look on the website, beeroclockshow.co.uk, tab at the top, Crimbo Crawl, and in 2 or 3 weeks there will be a space reservation form for you to put in your details. Not a booking.
It's not a booking form. It's a reserve your space.
Reserve your space.
Yeah.
Right. You can find us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show. The website, as I said, is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Stephen, let's have a final review or final rating of this Red Rocket Ale from Bear Republic. How would you rate this out of 5 bottle caps, mate?
I'm going in a big 4 for that. Really enjoyed it. Really liked the flavours and the aromas. And I just loved the fact that it tasted red. Steal your thunder a little bit there, but it was a really, really enjoyable beer. Really liked that one.
Yeah, it was quite nice and balanced. Nice woody profile to it. Nice redness to it. I'm going to give it 3.5 because it's heavier than the beer that I usually prefer. But that's pretty good for me for a heavier style beer.
That is good. That is good for you, actually.
Yeah, so very well done, Bear Republic, indeed. Keep it up. Right, next week is our homebrew special. It's going to be massive. It's going to be huge. Make sure you tune in. But keep listening to this episode for Steve's very special interview with his childhood hero, or maybe adulthood hero, Fergus.
I think probably more adulthood hero, role model, legend. Yes, Fergus Fitzgerald from Adnams, head brewer. Interview coming up at the end.
Yeah. All right, that's it for me. Good night, Stephen.
It's been the highlight of my week.
And mine. It's all downhill from here.
Absolutely.
Have a good one. I'll talk to you next week.
You too. See you later.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, it's Beer O'Clock, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Adnams head brewer Fergus Fitzgerald to the show. Welcome.
Hello.
Fergus, thanks for giving us some time tonight to have a quick chat to you before this tasting at Adnams Bloomsbury. Just got a few questions that I want to ask you, starting off with just the obvious ones. How long have you been with Adnams now?
I've been with Adnams about 9 years now, which I don't really believe, but yeah, about 9 years.
Okay.
Before that I was with Fuller's for about 7 years. Had a very brief stint at Murphy's for about 6 months, and then before that I was with Fuller's for about 6 months.
Okay, so it's been a few years now.
Yeah. It's added up.
What made you start brewing? What got you into brewing in the first place?
It was really, I did biotechnology in Ireland. Got a sort of temporary job in the lab at Fuller's on a sort of a work experience program, and that was really it. Really, once I sort of joined Fuller's, that's sort of when I decided I sort of wanted to stay in the brewing industry. And my first job was really just in the lab, but that sort of showed me across the whole sort of all the bits that you sort of see in a brewery. You had to sort of go to everywhere, and that was sort of when I decided, especially because of growing up in Ireland, sort of beer was very generic. It was Guinness. It was sort of you had stout, you had lager, and that was sort of it really. But then coming across to Fuller's, you sort of just going into the pub on the first night, there was this whole range of things that I'd never seen before, and that was sort of eye-opening really.
And what was it that attracted you to Adnams at the time? Apart from the obvious.
After sort of 7 years at Fuller's, I sort of decided we sort of needed to get away. I sort of met my partner there, and we sort of talked about moving up to Liverpool, where her family's from. And then this job came up at Adnams, and we'd been there on holiday, sort of for a very short holiday, because a couple of friends of ours lived in Norwich, and we'd been there sort of a sort of long weekend sort of thing. So we sort of knew Southwell, we knew what sort of place it was, and this job came up, and it just sounded ideal, really. Completely opposite to where we really were sort of looking to move, but the job was just too good not to go for. So we went for it.
Okay. And never look back?
No, not so far.
Excellent. Adnams obviously brew quite a range of beers. You've got your sort of staples that you brew, and then you've got your seasonal beers that come in and out. Where does the inspiration come from for so many different beers?
Well, it comes from lots of places, really. Sometimes, some of the seasons are seasons we've done for a long time. So things like Old Ale, which is out at the moment, we've done that for years, really. So that's sort of one of the historic recipes in the brewery. Other recipes are things that we sort of, sometimes you'll see a hop and you think, right, we've got to find a reason to use that. So you make a reason sometimes. Sometimes there's a centenary that comes along and people like to celebrate round numbers, really. So if there's a zero in the number, we'll celebrate it for whatever reason.
Brilliant.
Sometimes it's just that you think, actually, we don't do this style of beer. Should we try do this style of beer and see what happens? And sometimes it's a particular event that happens. So we've got a beer for Benjamin Britten. So that sort of came because of that particular event, really. So lots of different reasons. There's never one reason that goes across everything.
And from the beers that you've been involved in brewing in your time, are you able to pick out? Okay.
No, we love them all equally.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to.
There are beers I have at home more often than the others. So I'll have Go Ship cans at home quite a lot. I'll have Innovation at home quite a lot. Tally Ho. But I mean, genuinely, when I go to the pub, I will change. If it's one of our pubs, I will change what I drink all the time. Yeah. Depending what sort of mood I'm in. Sometimes if it's during the day, I'll have a pint of bitter, because I mean, although sort of bitter, particularly English styles of bitter, are fashionable at the moment because of the sort of earthy hops, really. I still like that style of beer, but I do still like other styles as well. So I will genuinely change what I drink all the time. But I think as a brewer, you sort of have to. If you only pick and drink one thing all the time, well, you don't really know how things taste normally.
And was that kind of the inspiration behind going with the Jack brand?
Well, there's a couple of things really. The driver really for it was that we did this beer called Innovation sort of in 2007, really, when the new brewhouse went in. But it never really fitted with the rest of the beers. It was always sort of an outsider, really. But we wanted to do more of those sorts of things, but we didn't really know how to fit them in, really, and that's where the Jack brand stuff comes from. But actually, the Jack brand actually goes back to the 1920s. That imagery, that Jack brand image is directly from the 1920s. So our designers had a fairly simple time. We just have bottles in the brewery which are sort of painted like that. Yeah. And they sort of saw those and just recreated them. And then it gives us a sort of another range to sort of start playing with, because we've done it a lot with cask beer. We do lots of seasonals, lots of changes around, and lots of one-offs. But we've never really done it with bottle and keg beer. And that's where Jack brand works for those sorts of things. They can give us a bit more opportunity to play around a bit.
What's next for Jack brand? Because you've done a few now, haven't you?
Well, we've done three so far. So the Innovation was the first one, then we did the Rye IPA, and we've just done a dry hop lager, which is going really well. A little too well, because lager takes a bit longer to brew. Right. So we've run out for a little bit, but it'll be back in very soon. And then we've got sort of things to look forward to next year, really. We haven't decided what we're going to do yet, but we are looking at using some mosaic maybe next year. Mosaic's sort of the next Citra in terms of hops. It's the next fashionable hop, really. And we think that's a really, really, really good hop. It's sort of got a very, as the name suggests, it's a very broad-ranging sort of flavours, really. We also want to look at possibly doing something that goes back a bit further, really. Maybe going back into the old history books and pulling out something. So we've been looking at some of the sort of recipes in 1914 sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
Again, round numbers are always great.
Yeah.
So maybe looking at something from the historic recipes as well.
Okay, so quite a lot more to look forward to from...
Yeah, I think certainly from the Jack brand we want to keep changing and putting something new out. But not forgetting the cask, because we want to keep doing the same with the cask side as well. But like I said previously, we never really experimented very much on the cask or bottle side. It was the keg and bottle side. It was always very much cask was the bit where we played, and keg and sort of bottle was very much the very stable, safe stuff. Whereas we wanted to play a bit more on that side.
Talking about your cask beers, big one at the moment, which we heard earlier on the show, is the new collaboration with Stone that you've got out for the Wetherspoon.
That's out at the moment, yeah.
Amazing bit, I've got to say. I had it at the weekend. I've had another one today as well because it's just one that I just want to go back to. How did that come about?
Well, the whole Wetherspoons things we started doing last year, really. So Wetherspoons have sort of historically had these sort of two festivals, the sort of spring and autumn festival, and they brought over international brewers to brew stuff here to go into their festival. And they've sort of been expanding that range a lot more and certainly concentrating more on the American breweries as well. So we've done a few. We did Avery a couple of years. Well, last year was the first one we did. Then we did Devil's Backbone. We've done Firestone Walker came over and brewed a beer, and so the latest one is Stone. So Mitch and Jeremy came over from Stone Brewing. And obviously, we'd sort of talked about recipes before, and we'd sort of got to where we wanted to be with the recipe. Came over, brewed sort of 3 batches of beer back to back. And it was a fun brew day. There's a lot of hops in there, as you'd expect from the sort of Stone IPA.
You pick that up straight away the minute you get it.
But we brewed with Firestone Walker was sort of slightly more hops, but there was a lot more late hops in the Stone. So we put this beer through. It blocked our wort cooler. So I don't know if people know what a wort cooler is, but basically it's a sort of a way of cooling down the wort after you boil it, so you can actually pitch the yeast in. So obviously you're somewhat of 100 degrees Celsius, and you want to get down to sort of 18 degrees to be able to get the yeast in. So it goes through this wort cooler, which is just a series of plates. One side is sort of cold water, and the other side is the wort going through, and obviously the cold water cools it down. But the very thin gaps between the plates. So usually all you want to be pumping through there is liquid. If you pump solid stuff through there, it brocks it up really quickly. But because of the amount of hops we were trying to pump through, it did block up. And blocking up a wort cooler is a right nightmare for any brewer who's ever blocked a wort cooler will tell you it's not an easy thing to clean up. So we did block it up with that, which was really our fault more than anything else. But Mitch has a history of blocking up wort coolers. He did the same because he did a brew at Wadsworth a couple of years ago, and he did the same there, blocked it up with too many hops. But again, it's not down to Mitch. It's down to the fact we kept pumping when the flow rate was dropping, and we should have stopped. But it went through, brewed really well. Taste-wise, really good. We added a bit more dry hop than the recipe sort of initially said because we thought it needed a little bit more punch. But the final beer, I think, is fantastic. I think it's worked really well. Yeah,
as I said, it's absolutely stunning. I've really enjoyed it, and I reviewed it earlier on the show as well because I just felt compelled to do it was a bit of a departure for us. Just did a review on the spot as I got it, so you can check that out earlier on in the show. Is there any? Have you got any more plans to do anything else with any other? You said you've done a few American breweries.
Well, yeah, I think we've got a few more planned in. Again, they're sort of exclusive stuff to Wetherspoons, but we've done a couple of we've done one beer with 6 Point Brewing. I don't know if you've heard of 6 Point. Again, on the sort of the East Coast. I think that went really well. They're sort of the Bengal Tiger. They're going to come back and do another brew. I think Mitch wants to come back and do another brew as well because I think the sort of the black IPA went so well. So I think he wants to come back and do another one. And I think Wetherspoons the very first one of those beers they did actually was with Stone. So I think this is coming up for sort of some sort of anniversary. So they want to bring him back again.
Another excuse to do another special beer.
It's always good excuses. I mean, I think that the nice thing about those sort of brews is you get to meet these guys who you've sort of tasted their beer and you sort of thought, I'd really like to brew with these guys. And you get to talk beer, which is always nice. You get to moan about the same things. You know, you get to have a good old whinge.
Yeah, and I think we all like that, don't we? Really, but so in terms of Adnams and what's next for you guys, anything new on the horizon in terms of your seasonals?
So for the rest of this year, it's sort of already planned. It's almost at the end of the year, really. But so Old Ale is out now, which is our sort of mild, which we only bring out for sort of the autumn winter period, and that always goes really well when it's out. After that, we've got Tally Ho, which is our sort of barley wine, winter warmer sort of thing, which again comes out really in cask. We only brew it sort of once a year, so it comes out sort of sort of end of November for really, so it's out in the bar for December. Some people then age it for a sort of year or maybe sometimes 2 years. The last 3 years we've also bottled some. Obviously historically it would have been bottled as well, but there was sort of a big gap in the sort of 80s, 90s where we didn't really bottle it very much. But we brought it back a few years ago because we thought it's an ideal beer for bottling and for aging, really. So that's coming out. We'll have Shingle Shells, which is a Christmas beer we did last year.
Yeah, I missed that last year.
Which is sort of an amber ale, hopped with some American hops, so you have a nice really citrus thing, and it went really, really well last year, so it's coming back again this year. We've got a beer that we're doing for Nicholson's for their Christmas sort of period as well, which the guys from Nicholson's came up to do a recipe with us last week. They're also doing a recipe with Brains and also one with Harvestone, and sort of having a competition between the three to see which goes well. And also their sort of beer writers came up as well, so we had Ben McFarlane Brew come up as well and sort of and help with the recipe. And I can't remember who Harvestone had, but Brains had Melissa Cole go and brew. Certainly developed the recipe over there. And that sort of sees us through to the end of the year. And then next year, like I say, we want to get into doing something with Mosaic, which we want to do sort of fairly early on in the year. Probably in the Jack Bryan range, we think. And then that takes us into the rest of next year, and we haven't decided what we're doing yet.
Okay. You've just started whiskey production?
Well, we started a few years ago.
Yeah.
We'll be bottling it fairly soon.
Are we likely to see something along the lines of a whiskey-aged beer at some point from Adnams?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started putting whiskey down sort of almost 3 years ago, we got a couple of extra Jack Daniel's casks in and we filled them with some beer as well. Because we thought, obviously, in a number of years' time, we're going to have lots of empty whiskey casks coming out of the cellar. So we wanted to see what sort of style of beer we want to do. So we put some bottled broadside in, and also some American IPA in a cask as well. Aged them both with some cherries in there, and they've aged really well. We've topped it up recently just to keep that batch going. So the idea is that when the casks do eventually become empty, then we will start filling them with some beer. There is a bit of a gap though, because it's minimum 3 years, and we're probably going to use each cask twice. So the first batch comes up this year, so that means that batch is not. We're not going to have those casks really for another 3 years. Okay. So there might be little small scale stuff that we do, so maybe 1 or 2 casks here and there, but nothing big at least for another 3 years, I would think.
Okay. You wouldn't be pushed earlier on what your favourite Adnams beer was. Question that we always ask everybody when we interview them: if you were stuck on a desert island with one beer, what would it be?
It's a very typical answer for a brewer, I think, but I like Orval. I think that's a really complex but easy drinking beer, but I think you can find lots of layers of flavour in there. And particularly it changes over time as well, so a fresh Orval as opposed to an aged Orval are almost completely different beers. And I quite like that. I quite like the fact that beer changes over time and it's not stuck in one place and it's always the same. And I think it's one of the reasons I like cask beer so much, is it is a changeable beast. It is always changing. It is always different from one day to the next. And particularly with something like our Southwold Bitter, we dry hop in cask. And what that means is that actually it's a very different beer from when it's first cast to when it's sort of 6 weeks old, because it's had 6 weeks while it's sitting on the dry hops, and that beer is different from that beer. So I like that change. and that on Orval is probably the most similar to that in a bottle. I'm assuming I'm not going to have a cask beer on Desert Island.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for your time, Fergus. I really appreciate it. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
I'll let Mark work his magic with the end of that to fade it out. He'll probably use the music in the background a little bit, but thank you for that. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, that's no problem.